Us YouTube, working can be hard. Even these videos that I do just for myself take a certain amount of effort and time and motivation to get done. But working for others is when things get harder. Bad bosses, bad conditions, even getting your foot in the door can be a pain. We all have our own dream job, but as you get older you start to dream of just a better work environment, as if some magical spell could be cast and solve all of your problems. The manga I have for you today is Magilumiere Co. LTD, Gubushiki Gaisha Magilumiere, written by Sekka Iwata and drawn by Yu Aoki, published by Shueisha and appearing in Jump Plus magazine. As of this recording, you can read all of the chapters for free online on the Manga Plus app for your phone and on PC on their website. Magilumiere takes place in a world much like our own, where the main difference is the appearance of monsters called Kai. The ones who battle them are magical girls, but over the years, the Kai have been getting stronger, so after the development of magic has been privatized and digitalized, it's now in the hand of big business to handle these pests, and the magical girl has turned into the magical office lady. Personally, I find them just as cute in different ways, but that's just me. We follow our heroine, Kana Sakuragi, as she's doing her best to step foot into the working world of adults, but she just can't seem to get her strong points across well in her interviews. It's only when a Kai emergency happens because of corporate negligence that a fateful meeting occurs between her and Hitomi Koshigaya, the magical girl of startup company Magilumiere. Kana manages to help out in the extermination thanks to her quick mind and ability to easily memorize information. With her show of guts, it's more than enough for Hitomi to recruit her to join her company. Now, to be completely honest, this isn't just a story about magical girls, but don't worry, you will get your full of them. This is just a story about addressing problems in the working world, not just workplace troubles, but critiquing certain business practices, attitudes, and even government-aided support. And you could say this is why we follow startup company Magilumiere, an entity not bound to the status quo of the world's internal logic. This little company, like all of them, is held up by its employees. Our two magical girls are Kana and Hitomi. Kana being the newbie means that she is our lens into this new world as we learn everything along with her as we get the ins and outs of the business. Kana is pretty standard for a main character, kind, eager to help, but refreshingly realistic, and is pretty much a straight man in most comedy bits. Other than her mind, the bit of her character that stands out the most is her constant worry about where she fits in, not just in her company but in the industry as a whole. She's taken on a job where her life is constantly on the line and she has to reassure civilians of their own safety pretty much on a whim, so she's wrestling with that as the story moves forward. Hitomi, on the other hand, is a brash delinquent of a magical girl, an act first and think later type of gal. She marches to the beat of her own drum for her own personal reasons, but she doesn't let anyone get in the way of her work. This strong sense of self allows her to be a reliable senpai and a trusted employee. Midorikawa works in customer relations and services, and Nikoyama works on technical support. These two may work in the background, but their jobs are instrumental to the company. Midorikawa manages the girls' extermination jobs, and Nikoyama makes the magic on the fly for them to use during. Nico is also the one who designs their outfits, so that's a plus for him. Finally, the president, Shigemoto, is an industry veteran and legendary technician himself, also a cosplayer. It's safe to say that he probably likes magical girls the most. Being in the game the longest, he knows the ins and outs to the point of trying to change the industry from the inside out itself. It's a small, tight-knit group where teamwork is key. A major plot point is Shigemoto trying to get his magical system to become more standardized through the industry itself, focusing on communication between magical technician and girls in real time. Along the way, we meet different magical girls from different companies. Miyakoto's Aoi, a refined lady with a lot of experience and pride in her profession, and AST's Tsuchiba shows her company's power and pragmatism to a T. You know, in Japanese it's pronounced asto, as if you pronounce it all together, but saying asts is awkward and I'm only going to use it in this sentence. Now, you might be asking at this point, what's the plot? Is it just a bunch of magical girls doing their job? No. That's not the case. As stated, the Kai have been getting stronger. In the world building of the story, magical girls used to be just that, girls. In fact, they were shrine maidens. Makes sense? What is a shrine maiden if not the closest thing real life can get to a magical girl? But as stated, in getting stronger they've mutated. The ones we see now are stronger than the ones from hundreds of years ago, and they continue to mutate as our story progresses. Dealing with this problem is the overarching plot so far. This not only helps build up the world, but it builds up our character arcs as everyone who is worth anything is connected to one another. Shigemoto being a veteran means that he has a bunch of connections with people high up in the industry and the government. because obviously monsters showing up randomly would turn into a governmental problem, even if the business dealing with them is privatized. You know, like electricity in certain parts of the United States. The point is, our characters are mostly built on top of this world that they're trying to make sense of and change for the better. Or worse, I don't know, they could be a bad guy, who knows? And while our characters and storytelling is woven together nicely, it's pretty simple to understand everything that's going on. It's not as shallow as small startup good, big business bad. It mostly just shows how people can be disregarded in the working world because people don't really take in your efforts, or the business is only focusing on its bottom line and forgets about the people it's trying to provide for. I'm sure most of you have dealt with something like this before on both sides, and what the story does its best at is trying to show you both sides. Though getting a little political, this story does speak out against big magic. If you really feel strongly one way or another, you might not want to read it, but I highly recommend you give it a chance anyway, you might learn something. Magilumiere is at heart a manga about business and work culture with a big, beautiful, magical girl bow on top. It's full of fun and cute characters, all with their own personalities and beliefs. An interesting world close to our own in many ways, with monsters that serve as a metaphor for a multitude of our problems and how we deal with them. At the end of the day, it will make you wish you worked someplace better, but I guess that's why they call it a fantasy. Until we meet again, matao, until we meet again.